A while back, I was gearing up to shoot a whole week of concerts, 4 of them, back to back. And then in Jersey, where I was living at the time, there was a storm and a flood. So I put my boots on and went to photograph the flood. And aside from my soaked boots, I created a pretty big problem for myself. My trusty 24-70, may it rest in peace, died that day due to floodwater exposure. So now I had no 24-70, and in 3 days, I was shooting 4 concerts. I ended up being forced to shoot all of those gigs with just my 50mm lens. And you know what? It went great. It was actually a relief not to have to batter my lenses and lens mounts, swapping lenses halfway through the show. The photos turned out great, everyone was happy, and nobody for a second realized that I was shitting myself. It's funny, as we grow as artists, our collection of gear grows too. First, it's one extra lens, and then it's more batteries. And eventually you've got this mess to deal with, and you're spending your whole day thinking about gear instead of the thing you actually love, which is creating. I think that less gear is better, and I think after watching this video, you might too. But the reality is there is a lot of gear that's really important and useful. So how can we decide what's worth keeping, what we should get rid of, what we should and shouldn't invest in? What can you do to make sure that your gear is right for you and helping you creatively, not hindering? The gear doesn't matter debate has been going on since cameras existed, right? But I think it's really important to remember that gear only matters as much as you let it. Sure, it's useful to have really nice gear, but not having really nice gear is not an excuse not to make stuff anyway. I mean, look at Casey. He built his whole channel using a Canon 70D. And you're complaining about S-Log 3? And sure, maybe you're saying, oh, okay, fine, but like that's a vlog and I want to do short films. Okay, cool. Guess which movies have the highest budgets ever and the most amount of gear ever? This shit. Don't shoot me. I just really don't like Marvel films. I don't like how they look. I don't like the stories. I'm not into superheroes. It's not really my thing. The point is, on the other side of the coin to those Marvel films is this. Primer, which came out in 2004, is a great film, and it was shot on film on a budget of $7,000. Not 100,000, not million, thousand, $7,000 on film. It's an awesome movie, and you should really check it out, if only to prove to yourself that you really don't need a budget to tell a great story. Yes, dealing with cameras that aren't as pro can be a pain from a workflow perspective. Believe me, I know. For the first 6 months of being a YouTuber, I shot all of my videos on a Nikon D750. If you're not familiar, there's no flip screen, and the autofocus in video mode is basically unusable. So I manually focused on myself with a measuring tape for every shot. But the funny thing is, because I was sort of stuck with this old-fashioned 1080p super low bitrate trash.mov file footage, I had to spend all of my time on making the video better other ways. I had to focus on my scripting, my editing, my delivery to camera, my audio quality. Without doing all of that first, having great visuals wouldn't have made a difference. Do you know what does make a difference? My daily morning shot of Magic Mind, a nootropic drink specifically designed for creatives. Helps with focus, creativity, and your overall health. They're also the sponsor of today's video, and I've been doing a 7-day challenge with them where I drink Magic Mind every day for a week to see if it can improve my workflow and creative process after letting it build up and take effect for a while. It's full of loads of good stuff. It's got ceremonial grade matcha, citicoline, and turmeric. Yum. Look, the reality is it's not easy putting out as much content as I have been lately, and the amount that I want to be putting out is even more. And so having a little morning boost that's designed to help me stay productive and focused is pretty sweet. I usually start my mornings off with a very large dose of caffeine, and Magic Mind helps take the edge off that, smooth out the caffeine run, and keeps me on track. It also tastes pretty great, and it's packed full of vitamin C and D and stuff, so it's just become a normal part of my morning routine now. If you want to give it a try, which I think you should, you can get quite a nice discount by clicking the link in the description below and using my discount code. Who else has a bit of a lens habit? Hello, my name is Hunter. I've been in recovery for 4 weeks, and I'm addicted to buying lenses. Of course, having lots of lenses is exciting and fun. Like, a lens literally allows you to see the world in a different kind of way. But when you really think about it, you probably only use a small handful of the lenses that you've got available. I used to be so focused on covering every possible focal length I could think of. But the reality is, like, a lot of lenses just aren't my style. I don't like 85. I don't like shooting with 85. And as a result, every time I've bought an 85, because I'm supposed to have one for portraits, I've just ended up selling it and continuing to shoot portraits on 35 and 50. Now, the very same 50 that I shot all of those concerts with is still my best friend lens. It's never ever let me down, and it's almost always on this camera. In fact, it's one of only 2 lenses that I have left for this camera. There's a great quote that goes something like, "Beware the man who only has one rifle. He probably knows how to use it." So instead of buying every 2.8 zoom lens that you can, and 1.2 primes and all these cool special effects, tilty, shifty lenses, it might be a better choice to focus on the specific pieces of equipment that you know you're going to use all of the time and then master them. Like, it's about gear that actually does make a difference, right? And so for me, part of what I've been investing in lately is lighting, because that's making a really big difference for me, especially as a video creator now as well. So I've been investing in things like diffusion rags, really high quality stands, rigging, that sort of thing. For you, it might be investing in a really burly tripod that can eat dirt all day long without caring, so that you can do landscape photography in the rain more often. Or if you're into street photography, it might be buying a really comfortable pair of shoes so that you can keep shooting for longer, or a really comfortable strap, or a really comfortable bag. In fact, the absolute best purchase I ever made for my creative career ever is this MacBook. Before this, I was doing all of my editing, all of my scripting, all of my Photoshop, everything on a 2009 HP Pavilion. Let me tell you, M3 MacBook Pro changed my life. There's a lot more benefits to having less gear. For one, you have fewer decisions to make, but even better than that, having less gear means that you get to use the gear that you do have more often. When I had a giant shelf of film cameras to choose from, half of them never got shot. Now I've refined it down to only 2 film cameras, and what that means is that they both get used. So what does all of this mean for you? Well, I have a couple of things I think you should try. Think of this as like gear addict recovery training, you know. We can get through this together. You and me have both been saying, one of these days, we're gonna get organized.
You mean organized?
Organized. It's a joke. ORGANEZIEZD.
Oh, you mean organized, like those little signs they have in offices that say FIMP?
Today's that day. Step 1 is to take all of your gear and sort all of it out so you can have a really clear view of what you've got, what's really dusty, and what never gets used. Having everything laid out really shows you just how much stuff you have. Organize everything. This isn't just great when you need to sell off and get rid of some of your gear. This is just great for your life in general. When all of your tools are organized and put away correctly, your brain will be too. Like, you know when you're making something and you need a filter or like a cable for a light or something, but you have to dig through just piles of old rubbish to find the thing you need. Are you really gonna bother? Or are you just gonna tell yourself that you'll fix it in post? Step 2 is the tough one. You need to Marie Kondo the shit out of this stuff, okay? If you don't use it on a regular basis, get rid of it. I'm not angry at that traffic, it was an MX-5. There are loads of benefits to having a clear out outside of the creative side of things. I mean, for one, most of the stuff you get rid of, you can sell for money. Imagine having a clearer creative vision and a bigger budget. Listen, those 49mm UV filters from 1979 that came with your Canon A1 program, you don't need them. Get rid of them. Having a clear out also lets you really easily see what's missing. If everything is in its right place, then when it's not in its right place, you notice. For example, if a particular gaffer decided to borrow your light meter. Step 3 is going to upset you. I'm sorry, I truly am. For the next 30 days, choose one camera body and one lens and use nothing else. It has to be a prime lens, not a zoom. Doing this is going to explode your mind 10 different galaxies away, because you're going to realize how much more creative you can be and how much more fun it is. When you're constrained by gear, you actually have to use your problem-solving brain, aka the creative part. You're removing options from yourself, and in doing so, you're encouraging yourself to step outside of your comfort zone, to try new things and do things that you usually wouldn't. And you'll remove all the decision-making about which gear you should take with you, which means that you're more focused on where it is you're going and what you're going to make. It's hard to be more minimalist, I know, believe me. If you're as obsessed with image making as me, you want to be able to capture absolutely everything all the time, no matter what. And so you want to have a really great street photography camera, but then you also want to have like a bigger, faster camera that's better autofocus and got better burst speed. And then you want to have like professional gear that you use on set that's a bit fancier and a bit more pro, but then you don't need that stuff for your personal works. You kind of want to have different personal gear that makes you feel more artsy. And then you end up going to the grocery store with one of these big heavy things, just in case you need that extra autofocus point. If there's one thing I recommend to everybody at any step of their career, whether you're a complete beginner or you're a professional full-time photographer, is to choose a simple camera and a simple lens and just stick with it for as long as you can. You'll learn way more about your art and yourself than you realize. Don't forget to check out Magic Mind with the link in the description below. It's actually really good. Stay hydrated and create art.